I hit my own professional and personal rock bottom for an 18-month period where I lost all confidence in myself. I know what it's like to be in those really dark places. I watched the clock tick tock, tick tock, tick tock until the sun disappeared, and all I could do was hear it. And I sat there staring at that, tears down my face. And what amazed me was how many people go through this, how many people suffer.
Welcome to Under the Surface podcast. Together with Original Penguin and Calm, the campaign against living miserably, we're on a mission to challenge the stigma surrounding mental health. Our journey takes us to an important place from our guests' lives, which has helped them navigate through tough times. Tune in as we hear from voices in music, sport, and entertainment who are ready to reveal the private battles behind their public personas. Join us as we go under the surface. This podcast contains references to suicide and issues which some people may find distressing. Search Campaign Against Living Miserably for support and advice. Welcome back to Series 4 of Under the Surface. Now, you might spot a change. Yes, we are on the road for this series, meeting guests in locations linked to their story. Make sure you check out the Original Penguin YouTube channel for the video. Okay, welcome back to another episode. Delighted to say on the podcast today, a man you may have seen quite simply everywhere. I've listed some of the programs he's been in recently. The likes of Hollyoaks, Peaky Blinders, Fool Me Once, Kin, to name but a few. It is the superb actor, Emmett J.Scanlan. Emmett, thank you so much for joining us on the pod. Great to have you on. Can you tell us where we are and why this location is important to you?
Really appreciate you having me on. And yes, I can tell you where we are. We are in Chester, where I've carved out a family with my beautiful wife and a couple of kids. We're not actually in my house, but we are in my now adopted home for the last 10 years. We would be filming in my house, which is a renovated barn, but unfortunately we don't have any childcare, and I have two kids. One's 3 and one's 1. The 3-year-old is spawned from the ball bag of Satan, and the little 1-year-old is like a human hand grenade without a pin in it. It's just absolute chaos in my house. So my friend here has beautifully and generously donated his house.
I have to say as well, the hospitality
cool.
has been superb. Cups
great,
of tea,
right?
coffee for the camera crew, food spread. It's very nice. So we're doing this now this season. We're taking the podcast on tour to locations that mean a lot to our guests. And of course, there's loads to get in with you. And of course, the reason why you're on the pod, many mental health reasons that we'll come on to.
Sure.
Let's start with where it all began, really. Childhood and your earliest memories.
I guess when I think about the earliest memories as a kid, I think about my mother, and I think about how she would put me in front of the TV and we would watch Nightmare on Elm Street and Salem's Lot and Dawn of the Living Dead. Nobody in our house would watch horror movies with her. So she thought it would be a good idea if at least she had somebody, and she brought 7-year-old me into watch these kind of horror movies. Jaws. I mean, I haven't been able to get into the sea ever since. I don't go anywhere deeper than kneecap.
Is that right?
Oh man, I'm like massive phobia of the sea.
Wow.
My son's called Ocean. So there's that, right? So and it was a real weird. I mean, they're my first memories. Like I think of just hanging out with mum and watching horrors, and I could watch zombies eat the brains of the living. But the minute a woman took off her top, it was like, close your eyes, Emmett.
That was the level.
That was the level. That was the level. We're gonna watch like somebody sucking the blood from somebody else. Fine. But the minute there was half a breast showing, shut your eyes. I wasn't allowed to see what horror movie was under that top.
Okay.
I just wasn't allowed.
Fond and vivid memories.
Fond and vivid memories. Yeah.
Where did the love for acting come? What age were you?
I fell in love with movies from the right young age of maybe 7 or 8. My favorite movie of all time was and still is Rocky, and my hero growing up was Sylvester Stallone. I thought that guy, I thought his performance in Rocky was mesmerizing. It was delicate, it was intricate, it was nuanced, it was just a phenomenal piece of art. And I remember watching it, and it was one of these movies that I'd want to watch over and over and over again, and I did, and I'd shadow box behind the sofa to the montage over and over again. And I thought to myself, what a gig, you know, what an amazing job to be able to tell a story and to influence a kid on the other side of the world, a kid that he'll probably never meet, to then follow his Dharma and his passion. And I think that's when I fell in love with movies. Fell in love with storytelling. And I often call acting like the Neverland syndrome, the Peter Pan syndrome, the never grow up syndrome. You know, we learn to live inside our imaginations. As kids, we played cops and robbers, cowboys and Indians and whatever. And now we grow up and we get to live inside our imagination. This time we get paid for it. We get to tell these stories. And I give huge credit to Stallone, who was my hero, and Rocky for bringing me on this path, a path that I'm not really good at anything else, and even how good I am depends on who you ask. Don't ask my mum. So that kind of stuff. It's just one of those things, you know. I've just fallen in love with it. I get to don different masks and play different characters, and every gig is so goddamn different. It's beautiful.
It's amazing hearing that passion come through, because I remember watching films as a kid.
Sure.
It's enjoying films, loving films, but never looking at a film with that much depth. And it sounds like that you knew when you watched Rocky that was what you wanted to be.
I knew what my dharma was.
About that.
What my purpose in life was. At least that's what I tell myself, having told that story over and over again. I could very well have been that I just really wanted to be a hero, like Stallone, like Rocky Balboa. The irony is I get cast as the Dolph Lundgren in most of the stuff that I do. But whether I wanted to be a hero or whether I wanted to be an actor was almost irrelevant. I know which one I am right now, and I'm so grateful for that. And I know that people, you know, they search for what it is that they love. And if you can find out what you love, and someone turns around to you and says, where are you going to go on holidays? You can say, I'm already there. Every time you step on that set, every time you step on that field, every time you step on that stage, it's a creative process, and it's a team process, and it's really, really, really rewarding.
I totally agree with that, actually. I know what you mean, because I work in football, and football is my passion, and it doesn't seem like a job when you're working in your passion. It's amazing that.
You're going to teach me some football.
Well, no, I didn't say I'm good at football. I just said I'm working in two different things. We'll come on to that shortly as well, about what you got up to in the coming months. So you established your love for acting. When did you actually start acting then? Was it acting school? Was it your first role? Was it drama plays? I'm intrigued to know what happened after that watching Rocky moment.
My first role was when I was 14 years of age, and I auditioned for Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat, and I was too young to get a speaking part, but I did get the speaking part. In fact, I still remember the lines for my character, the butler. I can't even remember the lines from last week on this movie I just finished, but I can remember the lines from 30 years ago doing this musical. And I got on stage, and I just, I don't know, I felt it was, maybe there was like an energy between what we were doing and the audience that was watching us, and this exchange that we had, and it was just beautiful. Plus I was in an all boys school. It was the first time we got to be co-ed, and I quite enjoyed that as well. And then the round of applause when I got off stage, I was like, oh, I like that. That's interesting. I think I might start doing that, because I was never academic. I wasn't cerebral in any capacity. I just liked creating things. I was like, this could be the way for me to go, and I don't have to do any work, or it doesn't feel like
it doesn't
work.
feel like, I know what you mean. It doesn't feel like work.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So it was the butler, Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat. There I was standing in front of a vine. I picked some good. No, forget about it.
I love it. I love that.
It doesn't matter.
And from that, of course, Brendan Brady, Hollyoaks. A lot of people remember you from that. How did that come about? That role?
Yeah. Oh, wow. Huh. I auditioned for Hollyoaks maybe 3 times or 2 times previous. I auditioned to play Claire Cooper's boyfriend in one of the auditions, who's now my now wife. I didn't get it. I did get the husband role though. I don't know don't know if I got the short straw or not.
I was going to ask you which one.
Yeah, I know, yeah.
Got you very diplomatic with your answer there.
But I auditioned for it twice, and it was from Dublin, right? I'd just come off the back of doing a movie, my first lead movie, in a movie called Charlie Casanova, and it was about a sociopath who made his decision based on the draw of a card. He'd ask himself a question, somebody who he was beside, a question that would take them outside of their comfort zone. Ace to 5 yes, 6 to 10 no. Anywhere from smashing this cup over your head to jumping out of a window, whatever it was, he would do something that was so vicious and so visceral. That would be his sort of thing. And I remember I decided to go method on the only thing I decided to go method on. And for 3 weeks before we started shooting this movie, I would go around Dublin city centre with a deck of cards saying, hey, you want to play a game?
Wow.
Let's play a game. Let's ask ourselves a question, something that takes us out of our comfort zone. And it brought me to these crazy wild places. And then we shot the movie over 9 days. And it was, like I said, it was my first lead. It was my first nomination for an award. And so I felt at that point I was vibrating on a different level. Certainly, because before that it was quite a lonely and famine-induced part of my career. And I think by being in that energy, by being in that good feeling place, when I did eventually go over to Hollyoaks the third time, although I refused to go over for the character Brendan Brady, because it takes a lot of. I didn't have a lot of money, and you'd have to get up at fuck off o'clock, get into a plane, go over to like John Lennon airport. You know, you have to get the last plane home, and you go in there, and you might get a call back, you might not. And I always got down to the last couple, and then it wasn't given to me.
That must be tough, those phone calls.
At that point it was, I've learned to make friends with that kind of part of the job. In fact, I embrace that part of the job. And I certainly don't take it personally. But the third time round to come in and do Brendan Brady, I was like, nah, I'm good. And then they said, no, we'll pay for your flights if you come over. And I was like, oh, okay, well that's different. Yeah, okay. Well, maybe I will. And I went over and I did the audition, and I thought I stunk the place out. And I went home. I went back to the airport, had a couple of drinks at the bar. It was the last flight home, so I might have been a little bit half cut. Went home, got home, fell asleep, woke up. Ex-agent was ringing me going, hey, what did you do? And I said, listen, I apologize profusely. I will go back and I will do it properly. And he goes, no, what did you do? You got the job.
Wow.
What?
And you were surprised at that point?
Absolutely shocked by that. And it was a phenomenal character, Brendan Brady, this almost this psychopath who was like a homophobic gay man who eventually came to terms with his own sexuality and you know, and became invincible as a result. You know, the greatest prison that we all live in is the fear of what other people think. And then when Brendan Brady as a character stopped caring about what other people thought, it just evolved into some beautiful stories of which I was very proud to be part of. And that's how that came about. It was like a 3-month contract that soon went into a 6-month contract that soon went into like a year. I was there for 2 years, 360 episodes.
Wow.
360 episodes, yeah. Well, the cast of 70. There was a small handful of us that were used quite a lot. And hang on a second.
Not happy with that.
The guy who's lent us this house, Liverpool fan.
He's just stopped. Really deep emotional story you're about to tell there as well, about a character that meant a lot to you. And the
got distracted by Jurgen the
Klopp.
legend Klopp.
That really annoyed you, didn't it? Because you're a Man United fan.
I am a Man United fan for my sins.
There we go.
Yeah. Although we had a great time at the FA Cup.
I was there, yeah.
Were you really?
Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah, amazing.
Was that amazing?
It was, yeah. I mean, I'm a Tottenham fan, so I was neutral.
So you know skin in the game, so you didn't have to.
Yeah, it was
really
quite nice.
One way or the other.
Didn't mind either way, but Man United played very well. We've diluted massively off of your talk.
I like to do that, by the way.
I've noticed,
yeah. I like to divert straight away. It's a defense mechanism. Let's keep going.
And to clarify,
good luck editing this, buddy. You're fucked.
Bleep cut. Yeah. Jurgen Klopp magazine is off the table. Interestingly, you mentioned the word proud.
Great manager. By the way.
Yeah, he is a great manager. Great guy as well.
Yeah.
You mentioned the word proud when talking about that character, which I think is very apt, because how proud were you with all the awards that you won? Because it won a lot of awards. Yeah,
that was amazing. You know, it's weird. You know, when I don't remember this, but before I joined Hollyoaks, I turned to my sister and said, I've been cast as the bad guy, and I'm going to make sure that I'm the baddest guy that Britain's ever seen. And now I don't remember saying that, but then I got on set, and I was so grateful to be there and so appreciative that they gave it to me. You know, like I'm appreciative that you guys have asked me onto this. You know, I'm always surprised and always appreciative of things like that, and it means the world to me. So I got on set and I played. And I love that exchange of play, and I never thought about what it was going to be like to be recognized.
Didn't you?
No, not at all, not at all.
Really?
And if I'm being honest, I probably thought I would have liked it, and I didn't.
Right.
But that's we can get into that later.
Yeah.
But it was like I never thought about what it was going to be like to be recognized. I never thought about the soap awards. I never thought about awards in general. I just wanted to get the idea that I was on set. Was the award. The idea that I was playing.
That's the buzz. That's the passion
was the
for you.
buzz.
Yeah.
And I love that feeling. And I love just creating and just being in the moment, because we're so invested in renting our thoughts out to the past or the future that we very rarely marinate in the moment, in the present moment awareness. And acting forces you into that, albeit hiding behind another mask, but whatever. So I love that. And then the awards came along, and then I won 6 months later. I won Villain of the Year and Best Newcomer, and I was like, oh my God, I don't think I've won anything in my life. This is insane. And the weird thing was that the following year, my mentality changed. Then I was like, I want to win all the awards now.
Really?
Now I want to win all of them. So now I'm in a competitive mindset. And the problem with a competitive mindset, which isn't me, okay? I'm not that type of person. I know people thrive in that area, but when you're in a competitive mindset, it's always short-lived because you're taking something from somebody else. Well, when you're in a creative mindset, every day you're winning and everybody's winning. And it's a beautiful fucking area to be in. And weirdly, once I put myself into that competitive mindset, I was nominated for a bunch of stuff and I won nothing. And I realized how that wasn't me. I'm not that type of person, and that I wasn't going to get distracted by the bells and whistles anymore. What I was going to do was I was just going to enjoy the art and just getting on set and having a laugh. And if I do that because you can't fake that. So you do that from I can say it and make you believe the other way around, but you can't fake that shit. So I think once you operate from that point, that place, then the bells and whistles, the awards and the accolades, they'll come anyway. And even if they don't, it doesn't matter, because you're already
I get that.
You're already in a good place.
That's amazing. Amazingly powerful mindset, the way that you've used that awards and you've used that to understand change, but then realise not winning the awards has almost affected your mindset again. Because a lot of people will get one award and just want to win a lot. Do you know what I mean? It's a powerful mindset. How did your life change after that moment? You said winning the awards, and obviously that character was hugely popular. Just give us an insight into how your life changed.
It's weird. We talk about the fame or being recognised, okay? And when I started getting recognised, I was always very nervous and apprehensive, and I felt totally undeserving of the attention. You get into that negative monkey mind thought pattern, and I felt really undeserving of, people would come over to me and say, can we have a picture? And I'd be nice to everybody, if you're nice to me, I'm going to be nice to you. If you're not, well then rest in peace. But it's kind of like, they would come over and they would say, I really liked you in such and such. And my response was always the same. My response was, oh, thanks, I wish you had better taste. And there was something that always garnered a laugh, and it was always self-deprecating, and it was kind of, I was protecting myself as well as, the situation that I was in with this, at the time, stranger. And I realized that wasn't a really good way to live my life, because the more I said, I wish you had better taste, then eventually they did stop coming over, and they did get better taste. And then that was it. And for some reason that, since I was depriving myself of the love that I was receiving from complete strangers, I had nowhere else to mine that kind of good feeling. And I remember so vividly. I left Hollyoaks maybe about a year, and I'm in the Chester markets Christmas markets, and I'm looking up at the sky. I got a love affair with the sky. I absolutely love the sky. And I'm staring up at it. My wife is in the pharmacy, and I can see from my peripheral someone walking towards me. I got sunnies on, headphones in. And it definitely wasn't the weather for sunnies, but whatever.
Rocking them anyway. Yeah, why not?
And he starts coming towards me and said, "Oh God, this guy's gonna start talking to me again." It's not that I've anything to do with him. It's just that I always felt uncomfortable and undeserving of that kind of attention. And he comes towards me and he says, "Emmett, excuse me, Emmett." And I kind of pretended I didn't hear him, and I continued looking, but he wasn't moving. And then it got a little bit awkward, and then I just took the headphones off and I said, "Yes, mate." And he said to me, and I'm paraphrasing here because it happened so long ago, but the gist of it was that he said to me, "Thank you so much for your betrayal of Brendan Brady. Thank you so much for the storylines. Really helped me and gave me the courage to come out to my dad." And he said, "Sorry for disturbing you." And without another word, he turned around and disappeared into the crowd. And I hope I said something in response to him, but I don't remember.
You don't remember?
I don't remember. But I just know that he turned around and walked away. And I remember looking at him and going, wow, out of the 2.5 years, 2 years I was in Hollyoaks, that there is the highlight.
Wow.
That there is the best moment of my career. And it reminded me of that kid shadowboxing behind the couch, to Rocky, the kid who fell in love with movies in the first place. Because somewhere along the way, when I was in this soap bubble, this kind of toxic soap bubble, as it can be, you lose your way, and my nights out became my nights in, and I abused myself relentlessly. How my body didn't give up on me is beyond me. And I watched him go away and went, fuck, man, that's why I got into this in the first place. That's why I got into this in the first place, to tell stories, to touch somebody, maybe to inspire somebody. And in no way are we saving lives, but on a good day, we can make somebody feel a little bit better. And then I remember a girl comes over to me and says, "Hey, I love what you do. Can I get a picture? I love what you do." And I looked at her and said, "You have remarkable taste." Wow. And she laughed and I smiled. And in that moment was born my new saying. I wish you had better taste, and you have remarkable taste. Both got a laugh, but only one of them made me feel good.
Wow. That's
and
powerful.
So that's what I took away from those 2.5 years. That moment from a kid who came over to me, a kid whose face I don't even remember.
Wow. That is so powerful. And like you said, that is the beauty of acting to a T there. I mean, that epitomises that. No award, I imagine, that you win or go on to win will mean more than actually influencing someone's life effectively.
No, nothing. He reminded me why I fell in love with this game in the first place.
Wow.
He gave me that love and passion back.
Wow. Incredible story.
And I've held on to it, and I've mined it.
Wow.
And milked it for everything it's got. Yeah. That was an amazing moment. It was one of those moments. It touched me.
And you mentioned there leaving Hollyoaks. That was your decision, wasn't it? And obviously you've gone on to incredible things, and some of the stuff you've done since then has been to be applauded. But at the time, how difficult a decision was that for you?
Easy.
Was it?
Yeah, very easy.
In what sense?
In so much as, I only planned, like I said, I planned on being the baddest guy Britain had ever seen. And I accomplished that in 6 months. And I stayed on for a little bit longer because we were doing very interesting storylines. We had input in our own storyline as well as that. And they let me do other work. I did The Fall while I was also doing the soap. And it was a beautiful, beautiful family. And soap is an incredible feeding ground to learn your craft. You have to learn detachment. You have to learn to let go, because you don't have a chance, because the next day you're filming again. And if you get in your own head, you can hang on to that, and that can be quite insidious and poisonous. That's what soap does for you, okay? And it's brilliant. Continue drama. It's amazing. But once I start getting comfortable, once I start relying on old tricks or old habits, once the work starts being affected, then I have to bounce.
Wow.
The common saying is like, life begins at the other side of your comfort zone. I try and find out what I'm afraid of, and I go live there. I find the storm and I find the chaos, and I go live there, because in that place, as far as I can tell, in that place, that's where magic is, right? That's where expansion is. And that's constantly my search.
I love that. Emmett, I've got to say, I've watched you in so many dramas recently. I feel like I'm in a movie with you now. The way that you're talking, I feel like I need to deliver my lines better or something. I just the power that I'm getting from you.
You're doing great,
It's
man.
reminding me of Kin there, and it's like part of me's scared, part of me's excited. It's just fascinating sitting next to you. It's amazing hearing the passion that you talk about and the passion for your craft, which is amazing.
Well, hopefully we haven't peaked.
What did I want to pick you up on?
That's going to be embarrassing.
Yeah, you said the highlight of Hollyoaks was that kid saying how you've influenced his life. I imagine you want to add to that, meeting your now wife was another highlight of Hollyoaks.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Because you met on set, didn't you?
Yeah, I did, yeah. I had a bit of a bad boy reputation in Hollyoaks. Can't go into that.
Come into that, okay.
Anyway, I met my wife, yeah. So, in my humble opinion, and with no bias at all, she was and is the best actor going. She was the best actor in Hollyoaks. She was the most consistent actor. She was always amazing when I watched her.
That's what you mean by most consistent.
Like, I mean, so sometimes you have off days. Sometimes you don't turn up. You're right, okay. A few chips short of a happy meal. You know, like sometimes you might abuse the night before, and that could bleed into your work. Okay, sometimes you don't do enough preparation. Sometimes all this. I mean, there's a million and one factors, right? But she was always on it, and she was always great. And like I said, in the cast of 70, in my opinion, she was the best. And there was something really beautiful and sexy about that talent that she had, let alone the fact that she was already sexy. So it was, and I was nervous around her, I gotta say. Like I said, I came in with a little bit of a reputation. She had a nickname for me as well, which, again, can't share. So,
I'm looking forward to the chat after the podcast.
Yeah.
Really get into it then. yeah. Put in the comments, we won't. Go on. Carry on.
And then eventually I built up the courage to ask her out, and I said, "Hey, you want to go to the cinema?" And she says, "Yeah, who's going?" I said, "Just you and me." And she went,
Did you think about it?
Okay. Yeah, okay. Well, good. And we went on a couple of dates, and I didn't kiss her, I didn't do anything like that. I tried to play it cool. And eventually I wore her down, and she said yes to going out with me. And she is, like you said, that was one of the best professional moments of my life, was that kid that reminded me to be the kid, my inner kid. My best personal moment is meeting Claire and falling in love with Claire and marrying Claire on New Year's Eve in New York City. I had 2 jobs for the wedding. 2 jobs.
2 jobs
Pick
for the
the
wedding.
date, pick the location.
Right.
Never going to forget New Year's Eve. New York City is the best city in the world.
Yeah.
And also, New Year's Eve is notoriously shit. So if you've got something to celebrate,
it's an anticlimax, isn't it?
Yeah, you've got a reason to celebrate. It's absolutely stunning.
Brilliant. That's genius.
No, thank you.
We'll
welcome. Keep that part in.
That is genius.
And so I fell in love with her, and we moved over to Chester 10 years ago, and we've been able to, and we have, like I said, two beautiful kids.
Yeah, it's an amazing story, that. I love that you went to the cinema as well. 2 actors, top of the game. Where we go for the date, we'll go and watch a film.
Yeah, I know, right? Yeah.
You said there with the notepaper, critiquing
Absolutely. Inspire me.
Yeah. It's powerful, that, as well. It feels like your life, just everything's revolved, I should say. Easy for me to say. Revolved around acting, from meeting your wife to inspiring people. It's just more than a job for you, isn't it? It seems to be everything.
It's life. Yeah, I mean, it's everything that I could have wanted and more. And I know how fortuitous I am, having found that at such an early age, and how, I guess, in some ways, kind of ignorant and naive that I didn't think not being able to do it was a possibility.
Wow.
So
amazing.
And here we are.
Yeah, here we are now. And of course, a big reason why you're here as well, you want to talk about what we're all passionate about, mental health. You mentioned that you've got wife, beautiful children, your life is going great now, but you did have a period where, unfortunately, your wife did have a miscarriage prior to your 2 children. I don't know how much you want to share of that, or how, and sadly there will be people watching, listening to this, that have experienced similar things. So just asking how difficult that moment in your life was, really, and how you got through that period.
Okay. So I don't know. Okay. First of all, I have to say that being a dad is the best gig in the world.
I agree.
Right?
Yeah.
Anyone can be a father. Being a dad takes work, and it's the best gig in the world. Being a parent is so taxing and rewarding in equal measures. It's beautiful. When I found out I was going to be a dad 22, 23 years ago, to my first time I was going to be a dad, I asked my dad to come to the pub so I could break the news to him. And my dad is a typical Irish man of few words, likes to drink, reads his papers on a Sunday. That's pretty much how I knew my dad 22 years ago. And since then, we've bonded, we've gotten a lot closer, and we talk, and he was the best man at my wedding. We're very close. But back then, that was the guy I was talking to 22 years ago. I said, let's go to the pub. I got something to tell you. And he goes, okay. And we get to the pub. We both have a pint of Guinness and a whiskey chaser. And he looks at me and goes, she's pregnant, isn't she? The mother of my child, Carol, wonderful woman. I went, yeah, she is. And we sat in silence. And then I looked at him and went, what's it like to be a dad? And he just stared out ahead and lifted his Guinness to his lips and whispered one word, vulnerable. And then took a slug. And then fast forward 9 months later, Kayla is born. And in that moment, I knew exactly what he was talking about. In that moment, in less time than it takes a heart to beat, I knew that I would do anything for this girl. I would give my life for this girl. I would lie down in traffic for this girl. I'd use anyone as a human shield for this girl. In that one moment, I knew what vulnerability was, and I experienced for the very first time unconditional love. And it was amazing. And as that kid, I say kid, 22, 23 years of age, I realized how naive and ignorant and innocent he was, because I just assumed that you get pregnant, you wait 9 months, the baby comes, then you have a family. I didn't think there were any such things as complications. In fact, I don't even think we went for a scan for Kayla.
Really?
To put it into perspective, we left Holland Street Hospital in Dublin, and I didn't even buy a fucking baby seat for the back of the car. We just got into the car. Wow. We drove straight to Boots Pharmacy. I turned to the cashier and says, hi, I've got this. What do I do? And she brought me around. She got me nappies, baby wipes, Sudocrem, and everything. Everything works with Sudocrem. Yeah, that's it. And I think about that guy, and I think about the innocence of that, and I kind of missed that a little bit. I have to say, I kind of missed that a little bit. And then you fast forward 16, 17 years later, and myself and Claire Claire's pregnant, and we are over the moon. It is exactly what we wanted, and I always knew that Claire would be a great mother. How patient and loving she was towards my daughter, how patient and loving and protective she is towards our cats. Now that might sound a little bit weird, but you can really tell a person by how loving and protective they are over people and animals that don't have a voice. And that is her. That personifies her. So I knew she was going to be a great mother. And when we found out we were pregnant, when we found out she was pregnant, we were over the moon. And from the very beginning, there were complications. Now, I don't really know the geography of that. And I'm afraid that if I get into the weeds of that, I'll get lost. But I will say that if you fast forward 3 months, I'm lying in bed and I wake up and she's not beside me, and I hear noises from the bathroom, and I go into the bathroom and she's lying on the floor and she's ashen in colour and she's barely breathing and there is blood everywhere. And I call the ambulance, get into the ambulance, she goes to the hospital, she's on 2 drips, she lost 1/3 of her blood and almost lost her life, and we lost the little heartbeat that was Phoenix, our son. And there's so we lost him. That's the first time I've said his name out loud. So we've lost him, and the very next day I go to Budapest. I'm shooting a TV series called Threadstone, a kind of a Born Identity TV series. And I don't remember a single thing about that show.
Nothing at all.
Nothing at all. And then 2 days later, probably against the advice of her doctors, she followed me out because she wanted to be with me and I wanted to be with her. And while I don't remember anything that happened in that show, I do remember walking the streets of Budapest with my wife and stopping occasionally so she could catch her breath. And I'm sure we talked. I don't remember any of that. But I do know that we held each other. And what's interesting about it is there was a sense of shame and embarrassment that came with it, you know. There was I talked to Claire about this before I came on the podcast, and she told me that she felt shame over her body letting her down. I didn't know that. And I felt shame over me almost losing her, and embarrassment. And I didn't really know how to deal with it, per se. And she started talking to people first. I waited, and then eventually I started talking to people. And what amazed me was how many people go through this, how many people suffer silently, how many people in my family that I didn't know about, how many of my friends, my close friends that I didn't know about. And whether they went through it or not, they knew somebody that was in their family, or everybody is touched by it in some way. And while talking about it didn't get rid of the sadness, and there were other people who had much more horrific stories than us, talking about it helped process it. Talking about our grief with people who could understand it, people who could relate to it, helped us navigate our way out of this otherwise different landscape, you know. Talking about it is so important. Me talking about it right now is the first time I have verbalized it. And that was in July 2019. And Christmas of 2019, I got cast in a TV series called The Deceived, and I was shot in Belfast for 8 weeks. And one of my best friends lives in Belfast. He was a phenomenal DJ and radio presenter, a loyal husband, and a ridiculously good dad. He was the type of friend that would celebrate your wins and make excuses for your losses, privately and publicly. And that's rare for a stranger to do, let alone a friend to do. His name was Stephen Clements, and that Christmas, I tried to, in those 8 weeks, meet up with him, and he was so aloof and so distant and so out of character. And I was wondering what the hell, and I took it personally, you know, my ego took it personally. It was like, you know, it was like, almost like, screw this guy. I'm like, why isn't he fucking meeting up? You know, we were tight. We were really tight. And I guess it would have hurt a lot more if I wasn't so distracted by doing this TV series, if I wasn't so distracted by myself and Claire. We were going through a rough time as well around that time because we were trying for our second ocean touring, little imp of whatever. And if I wasn't so distracted, maybe I would have seen something. And eventually I got I talked Stephen into meeting me. And it was on the final week, and we met in a cafe, and he seemed agitated and he seemed nervous and he seemed out of character on hindsight when I look back on it. But I don't, at the time, like I said, I was too distracted, and he drove me to my hotel, and I knew I had to get up really early to start filming. And he started telling me about the things that were going on in his life. And like Stephen would always do, he'd do it with a smile, and he was so warm and embracive, and he made light of it, and he'd humorize the personal traumas that he was going through. And I would try and listen to him, and I'd try and counsel him, and I'd try and find some common ground where I could relate with him, and, you know, we could talk about those things, you know. And I had to get into the hotel. Because I knew I was up first thing, and I made him promise me that we'd meet up that Friday and go for drinks. I'd go for some food and a couple of drinks. And he said yes, and I gave him a hug, and I told him I loved him. And I went off and he never showed up. And in the 2 weeks that followed, I finished the TV show and Claire got pregnant again. And on the 6th of January, Stephen committed suicide. And then on the 7th of January, when I was in a pancake house somewhere in Chester down a road I haven't been down since, I got a phone call from a friend of mine, a good friend of mine. And I excused myself and I got out and said, yeah, hey, what's up? And she said, did you see the news? And I said, what are you talking about? And she said, Stephen's dead. And I went, who's Stephen? It didn't dawn on me that it could be my Stephen. And then I went to his funeral. This is just before lockdown, by the way. So 2020, I went to his funeral. And I met his beautiful family, his brother, his friends. And after the funeral, I could see his son just running around, having the time of his life. And one of his friends turned to me and said, you know why he's not sad? And I went, no. He said, he told me that he has a plan. He told me that at Christmas he's going to ask Santa for his dad back. And that broke me. And then I started thinking about that guy in the car who was sitting beside his friend. I started thinking about how could I have changed that? What could I have asked him differently? Why didn't he tell me he needed help? And maybe the fact that he was there talking to me was his cry for fucking help. But like I said, I was distracted, so I never got to say that to him. And so as important as it is to talk about your grievances, it's equally important to listen when someone's talking and to hear them. And what Stephen's passing gave me was the ability to appreciate the time that I have, bear up the shit out of my family. I read somewhere that you got like maybe 29,000 days to live on average. So I've used maybe about 16,500 of them, leaving me with about 12,500 days left. And when you put that into perspective, I got on average 35 Christmases, 35 autumns, 35 summers, 35 springs. And if you put that into perspective again, my dad's got 2 left. So what that has taught me is to appreciate the time that I have, to love the time that I have, to embrace my friends and family, to never be too busy to ask them if they're all right. Because I couldn't pick up on the darkness. I didn't realize how dark and how much pain he was in. I just thought it was just one of those conversations that you have, you know. So that year was not a good year. Anyway, I don't fucking know.
Well, Emmett, firstly, thank you so much for sharing your story, and apologies for, sorry to hear everything that you went through. It sounds like such a traumatic time for you, and I was so emotional just listening to that. I didn't even experience what you went through, so I can't even imagine everything you went through. Sorry to hear all that. I just wanted to pick up on one really important point you said about support network and talking, because it's something that we hear a lot on this podcast, and it's something that we don't do. Particularly, a lot of young men really struggle to talk during the difficult times. So apologies, I was getting a bit emotional listening to that myself, but just how important that message is, to listen to people and to speak out and talk to your loved ones when you're going through something.
It's vitally important, because you're not alone. People are going through it all the time. I hit my own professional and personal rock bottom for an 18-month period where I lost all confidence in myself, and I lost my gait, and I kept things to myself because I didn't want to be a burden to other people. It's amazing how much water is in the body. During that period, I remember one particular period where I sat on my own in my living room and I watched the clock tick tock, tick tock, tick tock until the sun disappeared, and all I could do was hear it. I sat there staring at that, tears down my face. So I know what it's like to be in those really dark places. And I also know how important it is to talk to people. And they don't have to understand. They just have to be there for you. They just have to. My dad didn't understand why I was depressed. My daughter, God bless her, she didn't have to understand why I was depressed. She just had to be there. Sometimes they just hold me, and that would be all it would take. But it is so important to talk to people. And it's your therapy. Sharing it, share the load. Share the load, I guess. That's it, you know. And you guys have facilitated me in a selfish way to be doing exactly that here in this.
So I'm sorry if you didn't want to mention parts of that, by the way, if we brought stuff out that you didn't want to share, or you did. I don't know, it's a very sensitive and such a deep traumatic time. So obviously share whatever you're comfortable with sharing. But I think you're such an inspiration to so many people that I imagine, sadly, there will be people going through similar things. I'm sure that by sharing that, it would have helped a lot of people. So
good.
I appreciate that, because it can't have been an easy thing to do. And I'm so sorry to hear everything, as I said, that you went through. But it is amazing, that theme that we keep coming back to in this podcast, and that is just sharing. Yeah. But it's not easy to do at the time, is it? That's what makes this
so special.
It's hard to do, though, isn't it? It is easier said than done.
Of course it is. Of course it is. And and in some cases you have to hit your own personal rock bottom. And every time I remember, then sometimes the universe goes, "Oh, you think this is rock bottom? No, we got a basement level here." And you realize that there's another level to it. But sometimes I mean, all the time you got to hit your own personal rock bottom in order to be able to share.
Yeah.
And it takes courage to share. It takes bravery to share. There's something incredibly, I don't know. There's something incredibly brave about being openly vulnerable.
Yeah,
if you don't be afraid to be that way. Show people. And when you show people, I guarantee you'll find friends coming out of everywhere, and you find out who your real friends are.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. Do you find as well it gives you a sense of perspective as well? Because I think back to the times when I've really struggled with my 100%. Mental health and anxiety, and when I've had real problems, I always remember thinking, God, I thought the problems I had 10 years ago when your football team loses, or they're just pales into insignificance, doesn't it? It gives you a sense of perspective, and I think we're ingrained in humans to always look at the negative side about the what ifs, and a lot of the things we worry about as humans never actually manifest.
Oh, we suffer more in imagination than in reality, my friend. And that's the end of, we always do. It's crazy.
At that period in your life when you were going through all of that, were you working? What films were you doing? How did that sort of manifest? And
which period
how difficult
are you talking
was
about?
That 18-month period that you said?
Oh, right, yeah.
When you were at rock bottom.
Again,
were you at work that time? And how challenging were those periods to even think about what you do for a living when all the cameras are on, when you're going through that?
Oh man, I was going up for auditions and I wasn't getting anything, and I was getting direct offers for shit, and I was the worst thing in it, and I'd lost my my mojo. I'd lost my ability, my confidence in myself, and I got lower and lower and lower and lower. And man, I remember being in the car park. I was supposed to go and get the shopping, and I got cast as the lead in this great TV series by one of my heroes, and I got replaced a month into it. We hadn't even started shooting, and I got cast back into it again and got replaced. And I think that was my lowest point. And I'm sitting in the car park. I'm supposed to go up and do the shopping, and my agent is ringing me, and it's like her ringtone is, "I'm going to make him an offer he can't refuse."
Wow.
Marlon Brando, right? So it's like, I'm just looking at it. I just go, and I just let out this sigh, and I felt like something had shifted. I just felt like I didn't want to answer the phone. I didn't care. I felt like something had shifted, and I went back to my house, and I got a phone call, and she goes, "Hi, yeah, so you got an offer to play a scene in an online TV series for BBC Three." I said, "I'll take it. I'll take it." He says, "You sure?" I said, "Yeah, I'll take it. I don't care." Because there was a time where my career was going this incrementally up and up and up and up, and I felt like I needed to be specific about what I wanted. I needed to tell people, no, if I'm number 7 now, I want to be number 4, and then I want to be like, I want to be the lead, and blah blah blah. And the more specific I got, the more famine-induced my career became, because I wasn't in a good place to begin with in the first place. And when you're not in a good place to begin with in the first place, the thing that you have to do is you have to go general. You just got to tell the universe that you're just willing to work. And that's the only, you get rid of the resistance. So I had to hit that rock bottom. And then when I did, and she said, it's for one scene in an online series, will you take it? And I said, yeah.
You said yes straight away.
I said yes straight away. I said, you also got a part for a TV series called The Safe, Harlan Coben's Safe.
Yeah,
and I was like, I don't remember auditioning for that. I was, well, you did, and they liked you. I went, okay, cool. And who's in it? Michael C. Hall. Do I get scenes with him? Yeah, I'll take it. We don't have any scripts. It doesn't matter. I'll take it. I just want to tell the universe that I'm ready to work. I'm ready to play.
And that was your mindset.
That was I had to hit that place. Wow. Now it was like this. Then I get on set for that online series and I'm ready to play. Yeah. What I didn't know about that online series, that one scene, it was Kay Mellor's production company. And Kay Mellor was opposite the road casting for an ITV show called Girlfriends. And apparently she said, is Emmett over there? He goes, yeah. Ask him to come over here and audition for one of the cops. So I went in there and I auditioned for the cops. And she goes, part's yours. I went, what? Okay, cool. Wow. Just by saying yes. By saying yes. By not putting any ego on it. By getting out of my own fucking way, not imposing myself on any job or how I'm going to get the next step. It's not my job to figure out the how. It's just my job to turn up, show up, and give it everything I got. So I say yes to the online series. I go next door. I see Kay, God rest her soul, legend that she is. She says yes to that. Now I'm a series regular on an ITV show. Wow. Then I go on set for Safe. I'm cast number maybe 27. I'm way down the pecking order. I knew that while we were shooting that show, they could cut out my storyline and it would make no difference to their overall arc. And there was freedom in that. There was intense freedom. Like I had zero fucks and I just got out there and I dared to suck. Really? Because you know that. Because it didn't matter. There was no pressure. That's interesting. So I got out and I played and it was the most fun I had and I loved my time there. And then they were casting for, and then Red Productions was doing Safe. ITV were doing Girlfriends. They were doing another show called Butterfly with Anna Friel, directed by Anthony Byrne. And because I was working with both of them, having a great time, they said, here, do you want to do this? And I went in, Andy Byrne said, that guy. And then I went from an online series in one scene to number 2 on a cast list with Anna Friel, because everybody's number 2 to Anna Friel. She's great.
Just the way it is.
It's just the way it is. It's the rule. Yeah. And I was like, amazing. But then I got on set for Butterfly and I was having a miserable time.
Why?
For the first couple of weeks, I was a miserable time because there was nowhere to hide. And I liked the fact that there was nowhere to hide. That makes me salivate. I love that. Nowhere to hide, dare to suck, let's do it.
The pressure.
Yeah. I don't mind it at all. You know, that none of that stuff mind. But I wasn't having a good time because I realized that I was coming in as a number 2 instead of a 27. And I thought, I had more fun doing Safe than I had Butterfly. Yet this is everything that I apparently want. So what's different? The difference is I was free back then. I was 27. So the next day I made a mental note and I went on the Butterfly as a 27. And I had a great time. For the rest of that shoot, it was brilliant. Wow. So my mentality now is always going on set, no matter what number I am, it's irrelevant. It's an irrelevance. I come on as a 27 and I show up and all I want to do is listen, play and dance. And that's the best place. Sometimes I forget it. And by telling this story, I'm reminded of it again and I'm ready to go into the next one as a 27.
It's an incredible story that. Had you not said yes,
had I said
that one online scene, the domino effect, none of that would have happened.
None of that. And Steve Jobs says you can't connect the dots looking forward. You can only connect them looking back. And by looking back, I can see all those things. So people say, you started the show by going, he's everywhere. You know how? I say yes. Yeah. It's not my job to figure out what the right thing is or the wrong thing is. It's just my job to show up and give it everything that I have. And inevitably, every single thing that I do, so long as I go in there with fearless faith, is the right choice, no matter what, even if it's the wrong choice. And like, on the other side of that will bring me some magic.
It's a powerful message to people watching this who maybe in other walks of life as well. They might have an opportunity, be it a job that might not be their dream, but it's the domino effect that can lead to, and what having a positive mindset can create. So it's amazing listening to that, because I didn't know that part of your story, to be fair. But I think it's a very powerful message that can send to a lot of people.
There's freedom in saying yes. There's power in saying no. And I don't say no to things. You know, it's the no's that got me to where I am. You know, the rejections and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
But there is freedom in saying yes. And it's liberating, and to, you know, like, jump off the cliffs and build your wings on the way down. You know, who fucking knows what's going to happen? And I'm here for it. I'll tell you a great story about my son Ocean. Oh my God, it was brilliant. One of my highlights of his 3-year tenure on this planet Earth is that, like, we're over in our friend's house, Christine and Ron, and he's hyper. And he's like, Christine, come on, follow me. We're outside in the garden, right? And she goes, okay. And she stands up and she runs after him. And all I can see is my son running down the side of the house, his long hair flowing behind him as he turns the corner. And Christine shouts, where are we going? And he goes, I don't know. And just disappears around the fucking corner. I'm like, genius. Genius, kid. I'm like, it's our job to teach our kids, and they're teaching us all the time. I'm like, that's it.
Yeah.
Who cares about the destination? Have your intention on what the destination is, but enjoy the journey, enjoy the run.
I know what you mean by that. It's amazing what you learn from your kids, isn't it? I'm the same. My boy's 3 years old, and he'll look at life in such a pure way.
Oh yeah,
and it's amazing to look at the eyes through kids. So I know exactly what you mean.
He's not shoved and he's not compartmentalized into some fucking group of like, be this, be.
And it's not the pressure
go
of
out there.
You have to be.
I totally agree. The pressure of being go out there and be like the other kids. The only thing you can't be like is like somebody else.
Yeah.
No, go out there and be you, and go out there and enjoy the journey. And then from that moment, I'm just like, yeah, what am I doing? What? I'm just gonna enjoy this. Like a dog sticking his head out the window and his tongue is lolling in the fucking wind. He's loving life. He's like, this is great. He doesn't care how he's gonna get there. He's just going, this is awesome. So it's that kind of love for life.
I know exactly what you mean. I love how you acted the dog as well, like everything, even acting that. One thing I want to pick up on what you said with that story is with how you sort of turned your sort of acting career around. When you were struggling with your own mental health and going through your issues, were you telling your sort of actors, producers, casting members, makeup, were you disclosing that information, talking to them, or were you keeping your own problems bottled up at that time?
I think I was keeping I was in Switzerland at the time. My sister lives in Switzerland with her husband and her 2 beautiful kids, and it was her eldest christening, and we all flew over there. And at that time, I'm in a horrible place, and I'm sitting there, and I guess. I'm sitting there and we have this app on. Myself and my daughter have this app on. Myself and my daughter, we're like best friends. I always like growing up, like, because me and her mother separated, kind of like almost in some ways got like the cliff notes of her. But I always like, every time I was with her, we're so close. And I always said, you'll never get in trouble with me so long as you tell me the truth. The only time I'll ever be pissed off is when you lie. And in return, I promise you I will always tell you the truth no matter what. So we have that incredibly open relationship, and we're very close as a result of that. So it's not weird, although it would be weird if I was doing it with my own dad. It's not weird that we're sitting on an app and we're doing a karaoke app and we're singing 7 years, and it's awful. Not the song.
No, it's a good tune.
The singing is fucking awful, and we can see our faces there, and we're doing blah blah blah. And I think it gets to a certain...
I think I know the app you mean. Actually, I've just clocked it.
You know I'm talking about?
The singing karaoke app.
Oh, brilliant!
Yeah,
right. Okay. It's the first and only time I played that app.
I think I know. Yeah.
And then well, I'm watching it and I'm doing it, and then I just burst into tears, and she starts laughing because she thinks I'm messing, and I stand up and I walk away. You have to remember, like, when you're in a really low place, that's all that it's so easy to cry, you know. And I stood up, walked away, and walked into the bathroom, and I stood in the bathroom just on my own, and my dad came up, and like I said, my dad doesn't know what to say, but just standing there was enough. And he goes, "What's wrong with you?" And I just went, "Man, I'm so sad, and I don't know what to do. You know, I could be surrounded by my family and my friends, and I'd just be the saddest person and the loneliest person in the world." And then I went downstairs, and I started crying, and my dad hugged me, and my daughter hugged me, and they didn't know what to do. They just had to stand there and hug me. So I guess, in answer to your question, I didn't really tell anybody, and I think that's normal.
Yeah.
I wouldn't feel bad about not telling someone, because you got to figure it out yourself. You really do. but there is absolute peace of mind and glory, and maybe even some form of redemption in sharing your pain with somebody that knows how to nurture it, knows how to care for it.
And interesting, like you said there, even just a hug. Your dad,
Even
you
just a
said
hug.
your dad didn't know what
Just
to
standing
say,
in the doorway,
but being there. Sometimes it
that
can
was all
just be
it
that.
took. Yeah, that's all it would take. So I don't think I told anybody, and I didn't. But it reminded me to tell people. And then when Stephen left us, he would have loved that FA Cup final. I'll tell you.
Really?
He's a Man United fan.
Yeah, another Man United fan. I love how you get a lot back to Man United. It's
always
that,
Man United.
Just off the back of the FA Cup.
Know, right?
I like that.
We have very little to cheer for. We need this. Let me have this.
Yeah, I'm a Spurs fan, so I've got it. I feel your pain, yeah.
Oh, wow.
Wow, the pity.
Wow.
He said when I said Spurs.
The only one
the only
feels
one.
worse
I am
than
the only
me.
one in the room that's a Spurs fan. That is right. Of course, now you've got two more beautiful children with your wife. So again, I imagine it's pretty busy, your life now, with all the acting and kids and stuff. I mean, it must be full on in your household.
Yeah, man, it's beautiful, and it's chaos, and it's magical, you know. It really is. Even this morning playing with Ocean and running around the couch chasing him, because I remember what that feeling was like when my parents would run after me. Probably more like with a wooden spoon though, to be honest. But yeah, it's a remarkable time. I feel very blessed. I feel very fortunate that I'm in this position. That I have managed to grab jobs from, I assume, inebriated directors and producers who felt like, hey, you know what, he'll do. So
Don't be silly.
So it's been remarkable, man. You know, it's been remarkable, and you know, every year has gotten a little bit better, but that all comes down to a mentality sort of thing. I changed my mentality, and things just started being better. You know, I never say anything about myself that I don't want to come true, because there's such power to words, and your words become your thoughts, and your thoughts generate your feelings, and those feelings mirror back to you the life that you're going to have. I mean, you get what you think about, whether you want it or not. So I never say anything about myself that I don't want to come true. And gratitude, and I have so much gratitude. I have gratitude for this podcast. I have gratitude for being in the company of you people who I hung out with for about 45 minutes to an hour before we shot this, and these are all sound, including the vegan over there. So, you know, I can't believe I'm a vegan too, by the way. The vegan threw the other vegan under the bus there. I got you, boy. We got Kinder Buenos up there.
Vegan
the
friends.
Plant-based. You know, I know.
Love it. You're being very modest, so that's another characteristic trait I will say about you, because you say it's got gradually better. Let's be honest. This year has been phenomenal for you. I mean, Fool Me Once, Kin. I mean, credit to you as well, because you are. I'm not going to fanboy you here, but I'm a massive fan of yours. You are a phenomenal actor. And the thing that I take from this as well is I've seen you play some hardened, bad gangster people in films, and listening to your vulnerability makes me think, well, firstly, you're an even better actor than I thought you were originally, because to play those characters. But I mean this when I say this. It's amazing how genuine and how modest you are for someone who has achieved so much. I want to ask you about Kin, because that was also a bit of a challenging period. Am I right in thinking that was shot during the pandemic, which now looking back on that, I couldn't sense, but there were certain scenes that you were talking about that you think, oh yeah, it does sort of make sense.
Scene, yeah, you can tell when it's, but it all serves the story for the better. It was an incredible experience, and like you said, life is kind of like, it has incrementally gotten better and better and better, and I guess this year has been bananas.
Has it?
Yeah.
Has your life gone to a different level this year with those two particularly, Fool Me Once and Kin?
Yeah, I mean, they came out at the same time, and everybody had seen Fool Me Once, and if you hadn't seen Fool Me Once, then you'd heard about it, and everybody has seen Kin, and Kin is one of those things. I always said that when I leave. Brilliant. Thank you, man. I really appreciate that, and it's one of those jobs, one of those characters that I really appreciate, and I'm really proud of having done. You know, I always wanted to leave behind a box set of characters that I'm proud of, and Jimmy Kinston and being part of Kin is definitely one of them. And I've had a number of times over the last 2 or 3 years where I've been ticking things off the bucket list, working with people that I've always wanted to work with, going on shows that I was a fan of, let alone joining the show. And the same with Kin, and I always wanted Kin to come to Britain because I was convinced that the British people would, embrace it and take it into their homes and into their hearts, but I had no idea how much they were going to do it. And the feedback has been extraordinary. I actually think I get more people talk to me about Kin than Fool Me Once.
Do they?
I'm pretty sure more people have watched Fool Me Once, but it's just,
that's interesting.
Kin, and a lot of people have been asking for season 3, and I wish I had an answer for that.
That was my next question.
Yeah.
You're not gonna answer it.
Unfortunately, the company went bankrupt, so it's been circulating around, and people are maybe bidding for it, and maybe it happens, and maybe it doesn't. And if it happens, I'll be the happiest guy in the world. And if it doesn't, I'm filled with so much gratitude having been part of that story.
Yeah, it's an amazing story, and you played Jimmy. I mean, so well. I don't want to give any spoilers for people that may not have seen it.
Fuck them. Oh, they haven't. No, fuck them.
Okay.
The producer has only watched the first 4.
I know, unbelievable,
4 episodes.
And
have you seen White Lotus? It's absolutely brilliant.
For 2 weeks. You had 2 weekends to watch the end of it.
2 weeks.
I know. Yeah, you can watch them all on download
I watched
now.
4 episodes.
I know.
Yeah, an episode every 3 days, mate. Sound.
He's definitely cut that thing out, by the way.
Keep that in. But keep going the whole thing. That's it. I don't give a shit.
But it is. I'm not just saying this. You play Jimmy so well, and I can tell that you've got a passion for playing Jimmy. But I suppose a more deeper question that I want to ask you is: was that a challenging character to play? That when you think of, again, I don't want to spoil the whole series, but losing his son, there's some very emotional scenes in that. I'm not an actor, I don't know, but I'm guessing you have to be in that mindset and live, breathe that role. There must have been difficult moments to play in that character.
Oh, always. Yeah, like Jimmy is, in my opinion, and everyone's entitled to their own opinion, but Jimmy to me is probably the loyal of the family, and he's certainly the most vulnerable and the most exposed out of all of them. He gets shafted left, right, and center. So it's a difficult place to be in. It's a difficult place to I guess operate in over a 4 or 5 month period. And it's just one of those things. My process when it comes to work is like, I get the scripts, I fall in love with the scripts, and I devour the scripts as much as I can. Peter McKenna was our scribe. He's a phenomenal talent, and he's able to tell stories. He's able to tell little slices of life. Talk about characters, layered characters, truthful characters, characters that you can hate and love and loathe and relate to, and all that sort of stuff. So his storytelling is remarkable. So what I do is I invest myself in that storytelling. I do as much research as I can before I step on that set. I'll watch videos. I'll talk to people. I'll have a playlist. I'll do whatever it takes for me to get into that mindset, and then I kind of forget about it all, and I just hope that by the time I step on set, like I throw enough shit at the wall, hopefully some of it sticks. I hope by the time I get on that set and the director shouts action, that the stuff that I've prepared will just show up when the moment is right, because I don't want that to influence anything. I don't want to have any, so I'll devour the lines so much that I won't have to refer to them ever again. Really? So I'll be able to get on set and we can dance, we can go to any direction that you want to go to if you're the director, and we can play. I just try to leave my ego in the trailer and just get out of my own way, and try and let the moment use me rather than me trying to impose myself on any moment. So I have those times where and that gives me the freedom, and it allows you to find the truth of the scene, and it allows you to listen without being afraid of what your next cue is. The secret to acting is listening. The secret to acting is don't get caught acting, but the secret to acting is actually listening as well. So it's that kind of thing. And so while it was very taxing to a certain extent and very exposing and very vulnerable, like acting is standing up naked and turning around very, very slowly. It's a very vulnerable, vulnerable art, and it's one of those things you're putting yourself out there, and it can be tough, but I mean, it's so rewarding. I bet. It's so beautifully rewarding.
Is it rewarding when you do the scene, or is it rewarding when you see the feedback, or is it a bit of both?
It's rewarding when you do the scene, having left everything on the dance floor. That's really rewarding, and the feedback, of course, helps. But I've only started looking at my own work in the last 6 months.
Have you?
Like for 15 years. Like the last thing I saw was The Fall season 2 was something that I
Really?
was doing, and then I just stopped watching my
Wow.
stuff. I didn't want to be influenced. I love the idea of doing films and TV and using that as an escapism from my own life. But every time I saw myself, I was like, oof, I was taken out of that journey.
Were you?
You know,
And you critique yourself when you watch
yeah,
yourself
and sometimes,
back of it.
sometimes I would be quite mean. You know, you'd be mean with the stuff that's inside your head. You know,
Yeah.
never saying about yourself that you don't want to come true. So you have to learn to, in order for me to be able to maybe that's why I've started watching myself again, because I've kind of started to try and be more gentle to myself. You know, love yourself, not in a conceited or arrogant way, but in a nurturing way. And if you can love yourself enough, then you can be of service to other people, which is, I guess, like the secret to living, right? Is given. So you can't be
great advice.
you can't be fucking of service to anybody else if you don't love yourself.
Yeah.
When you wake up in the morning, you find out. I have this pursuit for happiness, this addiction to find joy and satisfaction in everything. And it's the most important thing for me, more important than anything, more important than the kids, the wife, the job, or whatever it is. And not in a vicious way, but if I'm not happy, then I cannot be of service to you, and I cannot give you the best part of me. So it's a selfish, selfless way of being able to do that sort of thing. And I want my kids to get the best part of me.
Wow. I love that. I love the way that you look at that, and your mindset.
I don't even fucking remember what your question is.
I love that. Next question is the important one. You're very busy, so what's coming up next? Because little birdie tells me you've got some exciting projects coming up.
Yeah, okay. If you'd like to watch Unforgotten, season 6, I'm doing that. The Teacher, season 2. The Tower, season 3. And then I've got a couple of movies coming out next year, which I'm really excited about. I did a movie with Guy Ritchie called In the Grey, although when we shot it at the time in Tenerife last year, it was untitled. And so we did that for about 6 weeks. That comes out in January. Did a David Ayer movie, both of those guys have been bucket list for me. Being on their sets is so organic. It's like controlled chaos. It's just, they're such different directors, but at the same time, the experience as an actor is pretty much the same. It's amazing. So I did 2 of those movies, and I did a movie in Budapest. Was it Budapest?
He's so busy, can't even remember the location of where he filmed it. Wow. You know things
This is the longest answer I've given.
You know things are going well when you can't remember where you filmed it.
Does it sound bad that I'm listing these off? Because I think it sounds a little bit...
I'm absolutely loving it. I'm not going to
brilliant. So I did this movie with John Voight at Christmas, and that was pretty cool. I'm doing a bunch of shit.
Love that.
Yeah.
Finally, I just want to say, I think it's appropriate to end by just talking about advice, really. And I just want to say it's been amazing. I've seen you on so much and seeing you absolutely smash it at the moment, but also hearing your vulnerability and how genuine you are. And of course, opening up about some really difficult times that you went through. So thank you for sharing your story, and I'm sure it'll help a lot of people. So I think it's only right to end by just sort of advice that you'd have for people that sadly might be going through similar things that you've experienced.
Well, first of all, thank you for this. This was really beautiful for me to be able to do, and I was nervous about doing it. And as we know, I like to find out what I'm afraid of when I go live there. So you've been absolutely beautiful towards me, and if not for you, and if not for this platform, maybe I wouldn't have got to say this, and maybe this wouldn't be my own form of therapy in some capacity. So thank you profusely, and thank you guys behind the camera, and you sitting over there with another camera.
Comedy next, surely. Comedy next.
This is and what you guys are doing is extraordinary, and what you guys are doing is helping people. And I hope that by talking about this, by in some way normalizing it, that it helps even one person, and that's a really, really beautiful place to be in, because I know, in a selfish point of view, it has helped me. I'm sure I'll walk away from this having felt like this was deserving. And the advice that I would give to people would be kind of like just echoing what we've already talked about, really, was be kind to yourself, love yourself. Again, not in a conceited way, but in a compassionate way. Be of service to other people when you can. Talk to people. If you're going through something, please talk to people, because it's so surprising that you'll see other people that are in similar situations, that you aren't alone. And I've figured this out from personal experience. just try and be grateful for your time here while you have it, and be grateful for the people that you surround yourself with. Be grateful for the big things, the small things, the little things, the ordinary things, especially the ordinary things. Be grateful for the roof over your head if you're lucky enough to have one, the air in your sexy lungs. Just be grateful, and from that place of gratitude, you will inevitably find your peace.
I think it's brilliant advice. I think it's the perfect note to end on. I want to echo something you said there as well and shout out all the team, because I've got the easy job. I ask the questions, but the team behind the cameras have been working on this project for years. It's something I'm very proud to be involved in. So well said, Emmett. I've got to say, superb actor, even better blokes. Been an absolute pleasure to meet you. Thank you so much for sharing your story.
Huge respect to you as well.